Hello and welcome to the show. I am here on GTA 5 with some more downhill chaos. My first vehicle today is the Casco. Still going through the cars from the Heist DLC. This one makes a fantastic sort of flamethrower at the back of it. Standard exhaust on this thing, it spits so much fire. I absolutely love this car for that. This vehicle, I was not quite sure what to expect from this one. Sports classic cars, okay, they're not quite up there with the supercars, but they can often be quite quick. And on the first run, I didn't actually have too many problems with the car through the first section. I may have got things that just sort of clipped the bush, got thrown out a little bit wide, and then probably messed up my way down here as well. The bushes were being a real pain. You see there, that when I was kind of going straight, and then the car just decided, nope, it's going to jink to the left, and I couldn't stop it in time. Bushes were being a massive pain yet again. May have turned in a little bit too late for the escape road on the... that was my second attempt down there. We landed it lovely. Unfortunately, a tree got in the way of my fantastic landing. Little bit of a disability. If only the tree hadn't been there, we could have ridden that out and sort of got it all under control again. But no, we may have lost a door. Yeah, the bushes were being a pain. I just ran a little bit too wide. Just trying to push the vehicle, and now we're going to go for a tumble. I was trying to do everything I could to get the car back onto its wheels, but it did not want to go. Still, we're twisting, losing most of the body panels. Eventually we come to rest. I've just about got some semblance of control as we get it wedged. Yeah, it rolls well. It does roll very, very well. Again, just carrying that little bit too much speed of riding along the wall. So nearly managed to pull it off. Just not quite. And then we go for many, many spins. I was kind of curious to see how many spins we could get out of it down there. It's, yeah, some impressive flat spins from the Casco. Also, it doesn't actually want to stay stationary on the hill. Isn't me trying to stop it from rolling down? And it kind of goes in reverse and just burns the wheels out massively, which I found rather amusing. I didn't expect to do that. I thought it would be a bit better than that. I took the jump a little bit wonky, and this time we go round again in a circle. This car spins quite a lot. It spins very well off of a crash. I'm not quite sure if it's just the positions that I'm crashing the vehicles in, or what it is. I tried to climb back up and then promptly beach myself on the... on the roll. It wasn't the smartest piece of driving that I've ever done. Further down, back at the bottom of the course, had survived the first sections. This time I left it just a little bit too late to turn in. I got the back end caught on something, couldn't turn it in time, and then we're going to go for a tumble, and we do kind of still land it, pointing in the right direction. But yeah, that's slightly ruined that run. One thing I'm certainly finding on PC, this final section is being a lot more difficult. Again, we're on two wheels. I'm going to blame the bushes. Certainly they did have a little bit of an effect on that one. You just kind of see them just slightly pull the car, and then as I'm fighting it, I actually really wanted to get up onto two wheels through there. I'm not sure why. Little curious. That particular one was a shame, but yeah, that's that one there. It got away from me coming into the hairpin. May have taken it a little bit too tight, and the Casco goes for a roll. Yeah. This one was a little bit awkward to get through the hairpin as well. For whatever reason, it just didn't quite like that, getting it turned into that turn. I was trying different lines, and that one there was a wrong line. This time, again, just running ever so slightly on the inside banking there, and that was enough to put the car on its side, roll it over, scare a hiker, and Michael just about had time to close the door. Took a little bit of time to get a run out of this vehicle. It wasn't so much the bumps that were a problem. I was kind of expecting, being a low sports classic car, that maybe the bumps would be a little bit problematic. It did pretty well. I didn't have too many problems sort of on the landing of the jumps. It was relatively easy to get this car spinning if you weren't too careful, and a little bit of two-wheeled action. It's not as bad, of course, as the big high-riding SUVs and so on. It surprised me that it did not take that much to get this car up onto two wheels. We have a big slide as we come up towards the hairpin. Yeah, as I said, a bit awkward getting it turned. For whatever reason, it just didn't want to get turned in to the hairpin so nicely. So you have to either be really slow or kind of chuck it into the corner, which is why I end up rolling it on that one occasion. That time there was kind of a compromise of trying to take speed, but and sort of trying to chuck it into the corner, but not to the extent where you roll the car over. We throw it across the little banking there. Be careful not to go on the banking on the inside there, as that's where I had rolled it earlier. Hiker gets very, very lucky. We have a huge slide. I thought I was going to get myself in trouble on that one. Just about managed to keep it all together as we come up to the final of the big jumps. Again, you can see the car, it's wanting to go up onto two wheels. It doesn't really like being on the tarmac. I'm really slowing it down through here, having to be very, very careful. And I think that's perhaps the section where this car loses the most amount of time. You really have to be careful. Again, we're being chucked up onto two wheels around the second to last corner, run a little bit wide through the final turn, and the Casco is across the line. We may have clipped the tree just a little tiny bit after crossing the line, and then I got myself stuck in not quite where I wanted to be. But yeah, the Casco, it was a good vehicle. I was surprised by the amount it wanted to go up onto two wheels, and when things did go wrong, yeah, it did like to spin. Often more than rolling, it would spin. If it started rolling, it tumbles well. But yeah, a few occasions you saw it'll just sort of spin around. It's not a bad car though. It's certainly not a bad car. I've got to be careful. I've got to be careful with everything of going up onto two wheels, especially the final section. The Casco, it did not like that bit there. You had to really, really slow it down through there. But yeah, aside from that, not too bad a vehicle. Up next, we've got another motorbike. This time, I've got the Enduro. A much more, shall we say, suitable motorbike for going down a mountain. Maybe not quite as sort of off-road inclined as the Sanchez, but still much more along the lines than the hybrid electric bike thing that I had out last time. So I was expecting this thing to be quite quick. I was trying to see if I could make fire come out of the exhaust, because it did have custom exhaust. I couldn't get the full flamethrower effect going on. On this first attempt, yeah, the hikers may have got ever so slightly in the way. The second I set off, but this bike was much more as I had expected the bikes to be. Huge amounts of grip, phenomenal brakes. It stops so much quicker than the Electro. It's yeah, very, very impressive under braking, and an awful lot of grip from it. I very nearly got all the way down to the bottom cleanly on my first attempt. Unfortunately, I may have just pushed the brakes a bit too hard, thinking I was getting confident. I may have thought I could carry a little bit too much speed through that final corner. Just couldn't quite pull it up in time. But it was surprisingly easy to get this. It was very easy to get this thing to the bottom of the course, just trying to do it quickly, because there is so much grip. You keep trying to go faster and faster through some of the sections. That time there, I didn't want to particularly slow down for the jump, so I booted it, and well, we got a bounce on the landing, which is not ideal. That's another thing that I have been seeing quite a lot. We get bigger and bigger bounces on the landing of that jump, and then the second you get sort of up in the air, the course is kind of curving away, and you're going to end up in a lot of trouble. More me trying to push the bike, ran ever so slightly wide, bounced off a rock. I'm still trying to get the thing under control. Yeah, brakes are impressive. Brakes are mighty impressive on this thing, but that can't save you all the time. The other kind of downside to bikes is that, yes, bikes have an awful lot of grip, but they are very, very twitchy, as you saw on that one there. Just a tiny, I love how Michael's just sort of, yeah, he's fine. Just a sort of a tiny little movement on them can have sort of movement of the steering, as I managed to grind the railing. I was really hoping that this was going to be a complete run, if you like, but nope, got out of shape over the next jump. A little movement of the steering equates to a very big movement of the bike. So if you just sort of try to do a little correction coming up towards a jump, it can often be a much bigger correction than you intended, and that's what you see right there. I only wanted to do a little course correction, but it was a little bit too much of one, and bumped a rock, and now Michael's off rolling down the side of the mountain. Yeah, this bike, honestly, not particularly tricky to drive it down here. But if you want to go really fast, this thing is capable of. When you're trying to carry silly speeds, then yeah, that's when it gets a little bit dangerous, and that's why you see quite a few mistakes in the practice runs there. I was just trying to get the absolute maximum out of this. You saw through that first section how much I was pushing the bike, and again down here, you can brake so late into that corner around the hairpin. I mean, bikes are perhaps at times a little tougher to get around the hairpins than some sort of high-powered rear-wheel drive cars, but once you have got it round the hairpin, it's just booted and the acceleration is fine. Again, I was a little bit out of position on the run into that particular turn. Maybe lost a tiny bit of time through there, and again, hikers getting very lucky on that second jump. Again, more carrying lots and lots of speed through here. If you get things right, you didn't have to have a tap on the brakes before the second jump there, and this time round I get everything all positioned and I managed to slow it down enough for the second to last corner, and it's easy flat out through this final turn and across the line for the Enduro. It may not be the fastest of the bikes in a straight line, no, but for going down a mountain, it's certainly a very, very solid choice. There is so much grip in this thing. It's much, much nicer to drive than the Electro. When it doesn't have the same issue with the Electro has so many problems dealing with bumps and so on, and this, it just doesn't. There's just a huge amount of grip, very, very good brakes, can deal with all the bumps that the course can throw at it. Yeah, it is very, very fast. On to our third and final vehicle. It is the Rebel Technical. Now, off-road vehicles have been tending to do quite well. The Insurgent is currently the fastest non-motorbike, and the Guardian set a pretty damn impressive time. So I was expecting that this, could actually be pretty damn good. I also love how the hikers pay no attention whatsoever to a pickup truck with what I'm assuming is a 50 caliber machine gun on the back. Very, very powerful gun. On this thing, they just don't care at all. The Rebel, it's certainly impressed me on this opening run with just how well, that rock there has screwed over so many cars when you hit it. The Rebel just drives over it, absolutely no problem. Things may have got a little bit wrong on the brakes. I left it a tiny bit too late, and we sort of had almost a bit of a tank slapper, and I completely failed the dismount from climbing over the rock. But yeah, the way it dealt with some of the bumps was impressing me to begin with. There is an interesting characteristic though of this vehicle. I believe, my best guess is that having the big heavy machine gun on the top has changed the sort of weight centre of mass, if you like, the weight distribution of this vehicle, which means it has a tendency to go up onto its side. I tried to save it, do sort of a cool J-turn and then back up on the road. It didn't work. And I ended up sliding off down the mountain, and now I'm trying to climb my way back up. But yeah, the way that this thing sort of goes on two wheels is very, very peculiar. It doesn't kind of roll over. The game sort of stops it from rolling over, but it's very, very easy to get this up onto its side. Again, carried a little bit too much speed on the way into it. Thought I could get away with it. No, I couldn't. I mean, it's still an off-road truck. It's still not got the... Certainly after driving the Enduro down here and then changing to this, I keep thinking I could carry more speed through corners than I could. It's still an off-road. It's not got the grip of a bike. It's nowhere near the grip of the bike. And again, I did a similar mistake down here, thinking, it's an off-road truck and we can be flat out across there. We can't. We still get bounced up into the air. It's a spectacular tumble off there as well, I have to say. I was surprised again to see that it was carrying sort of enough speed that it couldn't quite deal with this bump if you went flat out. If I slowed it down a little bit more and we hit the inside, sort of the inside dirt, that would put it up onto two wheels and then would still have a big off. It wasn't particularly hard to get this thing up onto two wheels, and the problem is, sure, that could have survived that going on two wheels, but it would have come back down fine. But the course is so narrow here that when you do go up on two wheels, the chances are you're going to hit something else at some point because you'll lose steering for a split second, and yeah, you're going to be off the course again, carrying too much speed, and again we bounce up off the landing and we go for a tumble. It's perhaps the more spectacular of the tumbles that we had in the Rebel. It's just, you just have to be so very careful with this thing because you can't quite take as much speed as you expect. Like the Insurgent, we could deal with the sort of the landings of the jumps. You could carry the speed. This, it will bounce it back up into the air, and again we're on our side. It just bounces up a little bit in the air, and I'm thinking it is, as I said, that the weight of the gun is enough. The normal Rebel doesn't do this sort of thing. It's just enough to put it up onto its side and cause you problems. Again, clip the slight mound on the inside, and it's a very, very slow, tantalising roll as we go off the edge. And we do land it. I was quite pleased about landing that one. Yeah, that's probably one of the slowest rolls that I've had with any vehicle probably on GTA 5 there. It took a little bit of time. You just had to be very, very careful. You couldn't quite... with the Insurgent, you could use the maximum of it at all times. You could use the maximum of the off-road ability in that thing. Whereas with this, you couldn't quite use it. You just had to be that bit careful with it, especially over any of the bumps and the jumps. It was so easy to take the jump slightly awkwardly, and the vehicle then want to tip onto its side, and then of course that would ruin your run. The brakes were pretty good. I mean, again, everything compared to driving the Enduro down here feels sluggish because the bikes are so fast. But the brakes for a big off-road truck did feel It did feel pretty decent. I mean, okay, it's not going to have quite the acceleration of the sports cars and the supercars and so on, but it was to drive. It was okay. It was getting in the air that was the issue. I was trying to push it around that long corner. Ended up out a little bit wide, and again you can see it's just constantly wanting to lift up onto two wheels. This is always the scary bit, and it pretty much did that every time through that corner. If you wanted to take any speed, you just had to hope that it didn't roll over or didn't have problems when it went up onto two wheels. Even on this final run, the back of the truck was bouncing up in the air there over the jump. Perhaps too soft a suspension on this vehicle. We had a problem with the Sand King a long time ago. The Sand King has such soft suspension it bounces around. Maybe that's the issue we get with the Rebel as we fire through the final corner. Yeah, you can just about be flat out through there. Ended up running a little bit wide as we jump across the line. It's a good vehicle. It dealt with the bumps very, very well. You saw it just climb over the rocks. If they got in the way, they weren't a particular problem. It was the rolling over, which is perhaps not such a new thing. Things like the Army Mess or the Merryweather Messer, that kind of thing. They're very easy to roll over because they've got such high centre of masses. Yes, they have great ground clearance, but it means they'll roll over very easy. And with this having a great big gun on the back, it's kind of pulls the truck around a little bit. You have to be aware of that, but certainly it's something that's manageable, and I quite liked it. I have to say, it did perhaps better than I expected, sort of performance-wise. On to the times, it is unsurprising that we see the Enduro at the top, a 1:11.1. I actually expected it to be a little bit quicker in comparison to the Electro because it is so much nicer to drive. The Enduro is so much easier to drive down the mountain, but the 1:11 is still a pretty damn quick time. The Casco and the Rebel are, well, very, very, very similar. 29.4 for the Casco, 29.5 for the Rebel. Considering the Rebels aren't particularly fast vehicles, that's not bad at all. Being that close to the Casco and being that close to the Guardian as well, the Guardian on 29.0, I'd say that's a decent time from the Rebel. And I mean, the Casco did pretty well to survive the course, let's face it. You know, the Rebel is designed to be an off-road truck. The Casco is not designed to go off-road at all. So yeah, I mean, it's not too bad at times from them two vehicles. Yeah, the Enduro is ridiculously fast down here. A very good bike actually for driving around off-road. And the technical, I'm quite impressed with that one. You just got to watch it for its likelihood of rolling over, and the Casco, well, that quite liked to spin out. Anyway, that is it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.